The Sixers suffer another heartbreaker. I hate to say it, Mitch, but I was right.
You called it.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Game off. We got to talk more about Monopoly Go, the fast-paced game that lets you team up with friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. So download Monopoly Go, now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. See, I'm saying slow down because I'm ready to talk about the 76ers with my right-hand man, John Mitchell. My name is Keith Pompey. We are the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. Mitch, last night, Sixers lost 118-115 in Game 6. They were eliminated in 6 games by the New York Knicks in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, this was bad, Mitch. It was an exciting game. Jalen Brunson dropped 41 on them. He scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. Buddy Hield showed up and showed out. Tobias Harris had a donut. Kyle Lowry had a donut. But this came one night or 2 games after Tobias Harris had 19 points on 7 for 11 shooting. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey played well. Well, Joel Embiid played well. Tyrese Maxey played well as the game went along.
Yeah. Late.
Yeah. Dude, I told you they were going to let down. That's what this team does.
Yeah.
They let down. And it was a disappointing performance, dude.
It really was. Yeah. It and we had the fear of the potential letdown. We talked about it multiple times. And, here you are at home after an unlikely victory in New York, coming back to what they did. And to fall down by 22 points, even though they made that up, fighting back into a game when you're down 22 points you're literally sleepwalking through the first quarter. It's like New York drank the espresso and the Sixers drank the water. They had very little life, and late in the game, as good as Tyrese Maxey was in the previous game, the Knicks had a plan to slow him down. They made every shot attempted his difficult. Every time he attempted a shot, it was difficult for him. You had Buddy Hield. Who slowed Buddy Hield down? The poor coaching of Nick Nurse. That falls directly on Nick Nurse's feet. For a guy to give you 17 points in the second quarter, and then for you to lock him down, giving you everything you traded him for, and for the coach to lock him down in the third quarter is highly inexcusable. And so that's why we are where we are. They came out soft. Tobias Harris was just he might as well have been sitting up in the middle bowl somewhere in the game last night.
Yeah. Here's the thing: a lot of people say I take up for Tobias, right? And I don't know if I take up for him, but I always try to tell the both sides of the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the game 5 from Game 6, they made more of a conscious effort to get him involved. Like early on, they posted him up a little bit, had him in a dunker spot, crashed the boards. They didn't do that this game, but that all falls on Tobias. Like, what I mean by that is you knew they had the 2-man action going. Buddy Hield was not Buddy Hield. Kelly Oubre and all these other guys was coming and getting the balls. So basically, if you got a bunch of assists, a couple of assists like he probably had 3 of them. That means you had the ball. So that means you was passing the ball out. There was times when he was running, he was looking timid. I mean, Mitch, you were in the building, you saw it. When they were on fast breaks, it was like one time it was him and Maxey, and it looked like he was trailing Maxey, but he wasn't being aggressive enough to show himself.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this to say, did they do what they did in game 5? No, they didn't. But at the same time, you got to attack. You got to be aggressive.
Right.
You can't be relegated to that corner. You just can't. And the thing is, I kept looking back and afterwards and like looking to see how many times he was held scoreless in his career. Dude, at least as a Sixer, that was a first.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a first. And I'm talking about from the time he was traded on February the 6th, 2019 from the Clippers. That was the first.
5 years. 5
years. 5+ years. And the thing is, it was crazy. Like after the game, I go in, the media room, typing up your story. And it was arena employees like, yo, what the heck? It's the same thing. First it was Ben Simmons, now it's Tobias. Oh my God, Joel turning the ball over, this and that. I'm just saying this, man. I didn't like that effort. And I get it. You can say you didn't get the ball, but bruh, you can't go out with a donut.
No, and you can't. I mean, 2 shot attempts in nearly 30 minutes is just inexcusable for Tobias.
Yeah,
it's inexcusable. I mean, Nick Nurse deliberately pumped him up after the Game 5 win. He deliberately talked about him, hoping that he could coax a game out of it. And I thought I said on these very same digital channels that I think Tobias Harris will have a nice game. I have pretty much closed door on Buddy Hield, but again, for him to attempt 2 field goals, and for him to 4 rebounds, he didn't attempt a free throw the entire game. It was completely unaggressive performance, and it kind of typifies what we've seen from Tobias, and it's why fans are so hard on him, because it's like, they know he's capable of more. But what they didn't know was that he was capable of his worst. That he would save his worst performance for what's probably his final game as a 76er, unless you can get him back at a ridiculously much lower number than the number, the 180 million. Well, obviously he's not going to see that. But yeah, it was, and he's the reason why they lost the game. I mean, there are multiple reasons why they lost the game. And again, all the Knicks players started scoring double digits. Jalen Brunson became, was unreal yesterday. But if Tobias gives them 10 points, they win that game. Just give us, get remotely close to your season average. And he didn't do it, man. It's inexplicable that he would get to this point, of the postseason and not have anything in the tank. And like you said, man, you lose as a team. We're singling out Tobias, but there are lots of places. You can point the finger at Tyrese Maxey. He scored 46 one night and 17 last night. But they made every shot difficult for him, and Tyrese was playing the fourth quarter. But our guy Tobias was just gave them nothing. Just gave them nothing.
You're right.
And Nick Nurse didn't give him much from standpoint of coaching either.
You're right.
Yeah. So, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the next segment about Nick Nurse's coaching. But right now, it's game off, literally. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on a play. You already talked about that. There's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now on the free Google Play or App Store. Game on. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day long? You had to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Do it today.
Every day, people.
Every day.
Do it today, people. Do it today. Now, but see, here's the thing. This is the thing that gets me. You talked about Nick Nurse coaching, and man, I'm a little disappointed in myself because
I should be disappointed in Nick Nurse.
no, well, see, I'm disappointed in myself because what happened is, so these games is crazy. So people got to realize when I'm writing my stories, I have to have the story filed right at the buzzer.
Yeah.
Or right in a couple minutes afterwards. But that game, stuff happened so much that I didn't quite file it right after the buzzer. You know, it was a couple minutes later. Nick Nurse went in there and spoke. By the time I got in there, he was getting ready to be out, coming out. And I wanted to know, like, why didn't Buddy play in the third quarter? I mean, it's phenomenal. Now, you know, like sometimes, you know, coaches have game plans and they want to stick with Tobias. But Tobias played 10 minutes and 30-something seconds without a shot attempt in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, it's funny because he didn't do anything. So then in the fourth quarter, when they were playing real competitive, Buddy was out there. And like Buddy only had one shot. I mean, only 1 3. But at that point, it was kind of sort of like he lost his rhythm. Like he was cold. He was no longer, you know, hot. And I get it. And I wanted to know was it like you just had your rotation? You wanted to stick with it? Maybe you wanted to continue to go with Tobias. You wanted to help him see what he could do. But in that instance, Buddy Hield was 5 for 7 on threes.
Yeah.
In the second quarter. You know what I mean? Like in the second, they went on a major run, and he had like 14 of his points, or no, 12 of his points in that major run, or whatever it was, right? And to me, that was just mind-boggling, man. It really was. You know, another thing that you talked about was, now there was a play when the Sixers scored, the Knicks come out in the timeout. Mm-hmm. And it was when Josh Hart gave him the lead for good with that 3. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying to myself, you knew they only had 2 options on that play. It was going to be Josh Hart after Brunson drives the lane. If he doesn't have his shot, he's going to kick it out to Hart. Hart was standing wide open.
Yeah. And
he'd been killing them with threes all series. You knew he was going to bury it. He buried it. Then after that, it became a free throw shooting contest, right? But, man, I was like, I couldn't believe it, man. I literally couldn't believe what was going on. But it was just a lot of that, Mitch. It was a lot of poor execution, losing your man, but knowing that that was the only man that was going to take the shot. I mean, him and DiVincenzo, it was kind of like they was doing Villanova plays on him, dude.
Hey, man, Keith, those Villanova guys, I mean,
There's a
13.
reason they won a national championship, right?
Yeah, and it's probably the reason why they're moving on to the second round of playoffs. I mean, just look at the 3-point shooting they got from Brunson. From the Villanova guys. Brunson was 3 for 8. Josh Hart was 3 for 5. DiVincenzo was 5 for 9. And you're talking about 41, 16, and 23 points respectively. 12 assists from Brunson. And of course, we can't forget Josh Hart. Hey, let me go. Tobias Harris, you don't want these rebounds? Well, I need to, I'm going to tally 14 for you. But getting back to the Sixers and the Nick Nurse made some questionable decisions. Like I remember the game where they needed to, where there was no communication between Kyle Lowry and his teammates that he was going to deliberately miss a free throw. But last night, just imagine if Doc Rivers had shut down Buddy Hield. That's inexcusable. You weren't getting anything from Tobias, and as a coach, you have to. I would think by now you can look at Tobias's eyes as a coach and say, okay, this is just he's going to be completely unaggressive. He's going to be super passive, and that's what you got. But when you have a guy, we've been wondering, where was Buddy Hield's shot? Where has it gone? And last night, the 3-point shot, the reason why you bought him here, was he was 6 for 9 from behind the 3-point line. Nick Batum was 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. So if you I put a lot of this again. I said this at the outset. I put a lot of this at the feet of Nick Nurse. A lot of the blame goes to the coach. We're used to making Tobias, the target, but you got to get Nick Nurse. I just don't know what he was doing at times.
I mean, here's the thing, and I know you want to hurry up and get to this live read, but I got to say this. I kind of figured, why? I remember when we said yesterday we were talking, and I said, you think Tobias is going to have another game? I knew it was going to go back down like this.
Yeah.
And the reason being is it's like, whenever he has a good game like that, he expects that he's going to get the ball again. It doesn't always work that way. So I had a feeling it was going to be that. So you got to make adjustments. You got to do certain things. And I just knew, man. Dude, I've been covering this team for so long.
Yeah.
Where I know what's going to happen. Like I was in the arena yesterday before the game, and people was like, "Yo, Pompey, we hear you think we're going to lose." I'm like, "Dog, yeah, it's over, man." Like, I'm sorry. Like I was dapping Muggs up, saying, "Look, yo, I hope I'm wrong, but I'll see y'all next October." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just know it with this team. It's just how they do. Like, and so I figured. I didn't know it was going to be a donut, but I figured it was going to be a lackluster performance because guess what? He was going to rely on other people to get him the ball, and they wouldn't do it. And Nick, it seemed like Nick was loyal to him until he couldn't be no more.
Yeah.
He was loyal to him until he couldn't be no more.
If I'm him, I would have shut it down at halftime. I'd have been looking at. After you rallied to get back into that game, number one, it came out sluggish. Ridiculously sluggish to fall behind by 22 points. If the Knicks score 36 points in a quarter, you have to think that, okay, at some point they're going to slow down. And they did. They slowed down significantly, in that second quarter. But, you have, as a coach, you have to do, you've got to have a feel for it again. You've got to make adjustments. How often do you get to halftime of a game and say somebody didn't make the adjustment? Nick Nurse needed to make an adjustment, and he failed to make an adjustment. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, the adjustments that Nick didn't make in the third segment when we get back. And we'll just talk about, maybe take a look at, what is this team, what's on the docket for this team moving forward. But right now I want to talk to you guys about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And since our customers are mostly from the U.S., I would suggest that you do it today.
Definitely do it today, people. Definitely do it today. So, Mitch, here's the thing, man. Like, we talk about moving forward. Like, what does this mean?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you know what? I'll be honest with you. This was my 11th season covering the Sixers.
It's hard to believe I've been off the beat that long.
Yeah, you've been off the beat for 11 years, bro. 11 years. So here's the thing. Afterwards, everybody that had the exit interviews, everybody said nice things to say and yada, and this and that. And, yeah, but I feel good because we got Maxey. Maxey and Embiid is Embiid saying, we got this. But he says, but, we got cap space and all that. But he says, but we got to get to people.
Got to get them.
And you got to get them. And to me, the goalpost is always being pushed back. And I know Joel Embiid is hurt, but Joel Embiid been hurting every postseason they had. Mm-hmm. Even down to the bubble one, he had a little ankle issue, but he was able to play with it. That situation, Ben Simmons didn't play in the playoffs because of injuries that he had. So they always had one. Right. But all I know is since they've been in the playoffs, they only lost in the first round twice. Mm-hmm. This year and that season.
Yeah.
Aside from that, they went there. Right now is a lot of uncertainty. They lost a lot of toughness. Now, Buddy Hield did come to play. But unless they got everything locked up and they got players coming in that they agreed to get a dream team that we know nothing about.
Right.
And even if they get that player, all I know is they regress, bro. They took a step back.
Yeah.
And I get it. You can say Joel was injured, but y'all been saying that for the last 8 years.
It's a broken record.
It's a broken record. It's a broken record. Like, hey, what you gonna bring? You gonna bring Kelly Oubre back? You gonna do this? Now you got to realize what Nico Batum, 16th year. Does he want to do a 17th season, or is he in the cards?
Yeah,
it's just a lot of things. Paul Reed, man, that contract sound great when he did it. I mean, think about it. You get a deal, and the team is always making the second round, and it says, hey, if you don't make the second round, then it's non-guaranteed. Outside of that, you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
Bro, didn't make the second round. So, and then he didn't exactly play well. So they can look at that and say, do we want to bring him?
But you're not dependent on a Paul Reed. You know what I mean? You're not really dependent on a Paul. I hear what you're saying.
You're not dependent on him, but he was the backup big.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go out there and get another one.
Yeah.
I mean, because my thing is, like you said, you're not dependent on him.
Right.
But you need to depend on him, if that makes sense.
Right. It does. Moving forward.
You're moving forward. You got to depend on that position. Yeah. So I don't know, dude. They got a lot of questions.
They do, man, and I mean, it's kind of focuses the light on, enough talk about Daryl Morey being aggressive at trade. Enough of that, okay? Stop. And just watching that game, you're watching OG Anunoby. How much better if they had made a trade for him? How much better would the 76ers have been last night? And how much would you have weakened your opponent last night if you were the team that landed OG Anunoby? Pascal Siakam, two guys, Either one of them. And ironically, now they're playing each other in the next round. So you'll get a chance to watch them. But you won't be seeing them in a Sixers uniform anytime soon unless Morey does some really substantive things in the offseason. He is the guy. He's on the hot seat. People talk about Joel. We all know that Joel. It's well documented that he's the only MVP to never reach the conference finals. That's well documented. But when is Daryl Morey going to make a deal when his hands aren't forced? They have all this cap space because James Harden forced him. I need to see some pro action out of Daryl Morey. I don't want to hear about MIT analytics conferences or what. I don't want to hear that anymore. Enough. It was a hugely disappointing loss, and he's at the center of it. Joel Embiid, say what you want to about Joel Embiid, and we're critical of him. Joel Embiid was playing with one leg in his series. He was playing with Bell's palsy, but he is 30. I like to see when they come back next year. Honestly, Joel Embiid's not fat, but I need to see him knock off 25 pounds because while he's not fat, he is 30. And you don't get healthier as you get older and heavier in the NBA. So what we've seen from this team, from him, missing more and more games, that could be a problem. If he and Zion Williams are the poster boys for guys who look physically fit and are. But I always refer to Tim Duncan, man. Tim Duncan has talked about it ad nauseum. I had to trim body weight, to extend my career. And Joel's in the same. He's too big, man. He's too big, and he's not fat. But this is a league now where conditioning is. Look at LeBron. You can't continue to put that pounding on those knees. You just can't. And I'm curious when he comes back in the offseason. I don't. He's doing the Olympics. I don't want to see a Joel Embiid playing himself into shape. What is that?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and I think being in the Olympics will hopefully help him out. He'll get a little break, and then he'll get in there and he'll be around other guys, athletes, and everything. I think the biggest problem was the process. Joel's a great player.
There's no question.
The best players. And the process, and what I mean by that is, it was funny. I was talking to someone, a former player of the process last year. And guess who was there? He had me cracking up saying before Elton Brand came, the veteran that on a team was Robert Covington, who was in his third year.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his third year, and he was looked upon as the vet, man. He was the guy they went to. And he was an undrafted boy who got cut by the Rockets and then came to the Sixers and was the voice.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy. So when you look at that, you look at Joel.
He's a grizzled vet.
So you look at Joel, and he just had bad habits, man. He developed bad habits. He didn't develop maybe a work ethic to him that he think is strong, but not comparable to what Steph Curry, LeBron, all them other guys, would have instilled in him or had from vets. So it's tough, man. It's tough. But look, y'all, we want to thank y'all for listening. We really appreciate it. Appreciate y'all coming. We want to let y'all know that this podcast is free and available wherever you get your podcast. In YouTube, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We want y'all to have a blessed day. And for my man Mitch, for me, Mitch can speak for himself because he always does. Yeah. All right. But we want to say thanks for listening and have a good day. And we'll be back on Monday. Unfortunately, we're not going to be back to talk about game. We're going to talk about players and other things. But have a great one, y'all. Peace.
Have a good weekend.